for that. I think, we did not do a good job in stopping the run, right from the start. The quarterback who had not been running the ball, obviously he can run. We all know that. But they had been holding back a little bit in his run game, but we anticipated him being able to, they were going to use him as a runner this game, which they did. But we did not do a good job of slowing that down, particularly in the first half. Their running back's an outstanding player. We know that as one of the top running backs in the Big 12. But if you can't slow the running game down, it's going to be a long night. That's what it was in the first half. And we never could get anything going offensively. I think tonight was obviously our worst night on fourth downs. We couldn't keep drives going. We did not get a fourth down tonight. We had a hard time protection tonight. I thought, we've been solid in protections, but tonight was probably our worst night as far as protecting the quarterback, giving up pressures and sacks. But when you got both sides of the ball not working well, it's what's going to end up happening tonight, and that's what it was.
Questions for Coach? Keegan, then Ross.
Coach, you sat with Mason Fletcher and some team leaders in the offseason, just kind of talked about how they wanted to invest in you and this program and come back. Ultimately, it's not working out. They're not getting what they came back for. How disappointing is it that those guys, local guys that decided to trust you and trust the program, they just aren't getting what they came back for at the end of the day?
Well, I think what they are getting is being around the guys that they love who've been around. So I think they are getting something out of it. I think you're looking at terms of just straight wins and losses. I think there's so much that we do and invest in these players and that is so much more than wins and losses. I mean, obviously we all want to win and that's a big part of it. But that's 12 Saturdays. That's 12 days out of the year. I mean, for them, what they do with these guys day in and day out and how they're around each other, how they support each other, they're living life with each other. So I think they are getting a lot out of being back here. They've enjoyed being with their brothers. Obviously they want to have success on the field too. And I think individually we've had some great guys with great success. I mean, Corey Connors had an outstanding season again. He's back-to-back 1,000 yards. We've had some other players that have done some really good things throughout this season. But obviously, they want to win the games on Saturdays. There's no question about that. That's why I think next week's a big game for us. To Senior Day, to be able to send these seniors out and the ones that did come back, the ones that have been in this program for a long time, that have seen everything, from being in the Final Four to ushering in the Big 12 conference. So, these guys I think have been around and seen a lot, and I think part of that is their brotherhood, that they like being around each other, and so that part I think is what they'll cherish for sure.
Scott, you guys have failed to score 25 plus points in any game since the Texas Tech outing. What continues to be, you think, the biggest problem offensively in terms of just executing and getting that ball across the goal line?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's several things depending on what game you look at. Is it turnovers? Is it penalties? Tonight, third down and fourth down were huge. Not being able to convert first downs tonight. I think so. I think it's several different things depending on what game it is, and obviously we got to do a much better job. We got to score more points. We understand all that. I think at times throughout this year we've moved the ball very well, and but just didn't score enough points. And I think obviously that's the name of the game, is to get in the end zone and score points.
Any other questions?
I got one. What is there something just different with Brendan? Is there something off at the end of the day? I mean, it just looks like there's stuff that he's not hitting that he was usually hitting earlier in the season.
It's hard to pinpoint any of that. I think certainly you get an opportunity to make plays in the throw game. We got to be able to make them, and I think there's several reasons. If it's a pressure, are you getting pressure? I mean, I know tonight early guys were getting to him. As he's getting ready to throw the football, they're in his face, and I think obviously there's going to be some issues with that. If you do have time, then you got to be able to throw and catch. A couple errant throws. We also had some uncharacteristic drops tonight. I thought for the first time we hadn't had many drops. I think we probably ended up with 4 drops tonight, which that hurts, and that hurts the rhythm. I mean, so I can't just pin it all on Thorsby. I think it's a multitude of things. If you miss protections or if you drop the football when it is there, particularly in that first half when we needed to get some plays going and to get in that rhythm. I think a lot of times offenses are rhythm offense. You have to be able to get in that rhythm and be able to keep it going.
Avery Johnson hadn't run much in the past 2-3 weeks. Did they kind of catch you off guard a little bit early, running him kind of as much as they did those first, I don't know, 2-3 series?
Well, I mean, we had anticipated them potentially trying to run him a little bit more. I mean, he got dinged up, I think maybe in the Colorado game, so several, 3 or 4 games ago, and so they really hadn't run him as much. But we felt like coming this week that they we're going to probably run him a little bit more. We just didn't defend that very well at all with him in the running game, and obviously, Giddens is an outstanding back. You have to know where he's going, and I think some of those things where they're he's going to the left and the quarterback's coming out the back end to the right. I mean, they split the defense. So obviously there's going to be less hats going to be around the football. And, obviously did a good job early in the game, particularly that first drive. They came right out and ran them on the first play and then ended up scoring on that same drive. You got to do a much better job in defending that Q run game.
Following up, how much does that change what they're able to do with Giddens when they run him like they did right away early? So now you have to respect Avery, and then the mesh plays and whatever just seemed like they were really tough.
Yeah, I mean, you end up splitting the defense in half, really, essentially what ends up happening. So now you have to have a hat for the quarterback pull game. And when you remove one more hat there, so somebody's got to whip a block, on the other side. So Giddens, therefore he gets free, and you're not, you miss one tackle, there's nobody else there. And they popped a couple big runs on us because of that, some missed tackles. And but it certainly puts more pressure on your defense when you do have a running quarterback, because now it's 11 guys you have to defend in the running game as opposed to 10.
Any other questions for Coach?
I got one.
Final one.
Do you have an update on Jake Golday? I think he was active, but just didn't see the field.
Yeah, I mean, I think he gave it a shot tonight. He was probably the biggest question mark heading into the game. Tried to get him there. He was close to getting there. I think he went out and played early and then just couldn't be himself, couldn't run like he wanted to. And we ended up, having to set him down. And so don't have an update, hopefully when we get back this week. I hope, maybe it didn't irritate us anything and he's going to be able to get back in for next week. We'll know more once we get back to Cincinnati and get that thing looked at.
Thanks,
All right,
Coach.
thanks, guys.
We'll have Kiner, Tony Johnson, maybe defensive player in a moment.
Thanks, Zach.
Thanks, Zach.